It's Jackie and I'm back with another journal flip through. I think I've done like close to 100 of these now. Can you believe that? I was just looking at my playlist and I think it's got like 92 videos in it. So we're back in my creative diary, my Dylusions Creative Diary. You can pick one of these up at Michael's if you want to do one. And we're going to be looking at March. This thing, I've been working on it for 3 months and it doesn't close anymore. Look at this. It's terrible. You know I don't like chunky books, you guys. I don't know what I'm going to do with it because I want to keep working in it, but it's not holding it. And the elastic is, I don't know, losing its elasticity. So I think we left off on these pages in my last video, and I think I had them half done, so I'll just talk you through the rest of it. I just kind of filled in some details in the bottom, a picture from a meeting I went on the weekend, some Mambi stickers. I went to see a movie, and so I just cut out like the name of the movie out of the movie magazine. I cut D-Box out of the tickets because we accidentally got D-Box seats. I did some stamping here. This is kind of some pretty little stamps. See, choir and potluck movie night. Those are the Studio G stamps that you get. Sorry about the chip nail polish. That you get at Michael's, and I don't use them very often. So that is one thing I like about this book, is it gets me using some stamps I haven't used in a while. But then the downside of it is that I'm not using any of my pattern paper when I'm in here, so I use up some things in my stash, but not everything I want to. So here's the next spread, and I think this one turned out kind of wild. I think it's one of my favorite ones in the book so far. The colors I'm loving. I actually used, this page had something like flowers printed on it. I think it was, yeah, it was this one. It had flowers, and it's still March, and I didn't feel good about flowers, so I put a jelly print on that. It's been sitting in my stash for way too long because I didn't think it was very pretty, and I just kind of tore it up. I put some along the bottom, some around this corner, and then some green watercolor and some pink watercolor, and it actually worked out really well. I don't know how it turned out from a jelly print I hated to pages that I loved, but somehow it worked. Then I used some Stampo stamps to stamp out Love in This Life, and I just used some pink acrylic gouache to paint in letters. And then on Monday, my friend came over and we were drinking cider, and she carefully tore this little tree off the side of the bottle of cider. So I put that on the page, and then the label from the cider on Monday, and that's kind of how these pages got started. I put some Heidi Swap stickers for my days of the week because I've got a bunch of those. And I collect a lot of ephemera during the week, just tiny bits, and that's what goes in there. So like here's a little chipotle pepper that I cut off a bag of chipotle because I went for chipotle that night. Here's a logo for a restaurant that I took off of a sticker that was on my takeout bag because I brought home a doggy bag for Grazie Restaurant. I bought a new wallet on the weekend, and so I just cut out the little fossil logo from the tag. And so I just collect little tiny bits like that, and I stick them in, and that helps me remember some details too. So it's a little bit dark in here this morning. So I always do a little bit of lettering. So this is done with a flare pen. This is done with a Food and Osuke brush pen, like one of the little brush pens. I like doing this style a lot, where you just kind of write out your letters and then thicken out the first vertical stroke on the left of each letter. I think it turns out pretty cool. This is a label that came from the Dylusions set, and so is this washi tape that's from the Dylusions ephemera that you can buy to go along with this journal. I drew a pillow, and I thought it turned out really cool. I colored it in using this Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Pen, white, which I just dropped on the floor. But it's like a big chunky bullet tip. It doesn't come in a brush tip, which is too bad. But I used it to color in this pillow, and it gives it just kind of like a translucent, so it looks like it's white, but it's not quite white. And I just lettered on that. I did some stamping here. And yeah, so I started going to ceramics class for a few weeks, and so I took a picture of what the classroom was like, and then this is the bowl that I made. Rolled out some clay, and then I rolled a doily on top to put a print on it, and then molded it inside another bowl to make it into my bowl. And then I just put some confetti. This was actually some happy mail I received through my Facebook group, Creative Journalers, and I wanted to remind myself that I'd gotten some happy mail from one of my friends on there, and so I used them on this page. The next week, I had a lot of fun making this background. And you know, it's so funny because I put so much effort into these backgrounds and then I just cover them up and you can't see them anymore. And then I find myself trying to explain them to you guys, but there's nothing really to see. But basically what I did was I covered the whole thing with thin washi tape. You can see these lines where they were. And then I used Dylusions paint with a little blending tool, and I blended out some orange and red. And it gave it this kind of geometric background, and I did a border around the outside too. And then I used some Dylusion stamps to stamp a border across the top and bottom. And then I just colored them in with a pink paint pen. And for my dates, I just used some Studio G stamps to stamp them out. And I colored over those with the same paint pen. So that's where the pink comes from. I had this little butterfly in my stash, so I put it in the corner of the page, and then I started filling in my memories. And so I put a picture of my next pottery class where I learned to use the wheel, and I made this kind of vase thing. It was my sister's birthday, so I put a Dylusion sticker here, and I listed all the fun things we did that day. These are some Snap Alphas. I find they don't stick very well, so I use matte medium to make sure they really stick. And I put a picture of her birthday cake and her birthday party. And we went art supply shopping that day, and I picked up some things to do some acrylic pours, so I put a picture of those supplies. You might have seen that on my Instagram. I got a award from my running app on my phone saying I've been running for 12 months straight. I've gone for at least one run every month, and I've never hit that achievement before, so I put that picture in. I noted my first 5K run of the year. I've been using these little Amy Tangerine die cuts. Put a picture of my new plant, little label here, and I use the Dylusions paint pen to do these bright pops of color here, these bits of writing. Yeah, and I think those ones came out super busy. On the next ones, I did a little bit more muted colors. This page was mostly black, actually. I put another jelly print on this one, and then I kind of smudged it in with black paint. And then I just used some blue and some green watercolor on this side to just do a soft little background on it. On this page, I don't want to make the backgrounds too dark, right? Because it's hard to write on top of them, as you can see here. Like, this is a little bit hard to read because the paint is such rich color. So I've been kind of following the same sort of formula from page to page. Sometimes I do brush lettering. Sometimes I do these little flare pen words. This was done using the same white pen that I used back here, and I just wrote out my words and then I outlined them with a black pen. I do these little captions on my typewriter, my typecast typewriter. This was cut off of a pizza box bag, and I learned how to use this nail rescue kit, so it was pretty cool. So I cut off the label and I put that in there. Use a little checklist sticker here to list all the things I'd done that day. A little bit more brush lettering here. And then I put more pictures for my next pottery class where I glazed the bowl that I'd made 2 weeks before. And I just stamped out amazing glazing onto some computer paper, and I just watercolored out the letters. Put some pictures, and then this was one of the Dylusions labels, and I just put adorkable because that was a word that my sister used to describe this photo. I did a flash mob on the weekend with my choir, which was pretty cool. I'd never been in a flash mob before, so I didn't have very good pictures from it, so I just took a picture where we were first gathering, and then a picture of my sister and I outside, and because I thought that was a really nice sunshiny picture. Put some Recollections Alphas down, and just a little bit of writing with a white gel pen. Over here, I did 3 things that day. So I used one of the Dylusions border stamps to stamp a bottom and top border, and then kind of divide it as well. So that's all done with stamping. And then I just filled in each of the 3 things I did that day. And I think these are the last ones. This is last weekend. My mother came to visit, so that was what most of the pages got dedicated to. And for this background, I just, it was just like a painty mess. It was like pink and, let's see if I can find it. It was this one here. It was this one, and I just kind of continued that by using a brayer to apply more paint on the other page and, you know, sponging it on. And it just kind of gave this random splattery background, and I think that turned out really nice. I put some Dylusion stickers down, this heart and this border, and there's like a little washi tape up here. And then there was just so much going on that I couldn't put much more on the page than that, just my journaling. So I have these pictures from Easter of my sister and my mother and I all wearing new jeans that have roses on them. So I've got my rose jeans on, and like a Snapchat with my mother, some things that I bought shopping. I had an interview this week, so I just put, on Thursday, I put interview in the morning, crazy fun evening, and I just stamped out, again, using those little block stamps you get from Michael's for $2. I stamped out interview in the morning, and then I just outlined it with a black pen. Put a picture of myself in my interview outfit. And Saturday I went shopping with my mother, so I just put in shopping afternoon. I cut this off a tag from the clothing store we went to, and here's a picture of my mother in the change room. And all these little captions I did using my typewriter, and then I just used some orange watercolor to color them. This is one of the Dylusions labels. I posted that on my Instagram too. It's just like a blank label. I can show you. It's this book here. Somewhere in here there's blank labels. Like this. I think it was this one. Yeah, and I just watercolored on the page, do a little lettering on it, and stick it down on my page, and that's my journaling for the day. This one I did kind of like swirly. Like I just drew some guidelines, and then I wrote my words with a curve to document a book that I'd read. This was cut out of a movie magazine, and this Ready Player One AVX Sunday 7:30, that was all cut out of my ticket. And I just did this little title using alphas, and I think they're pink paisley alphas, and some brush lettering, and a couple Easter stickers because it was Easter weekend. But I think you can see at this point that my life is kind of picking up a little bit, I think because the weather is getting warmer, getting into my groove, and I'm starting to feel like these pages are not holding enough information. Like these are so jam-packed with information, and I still feel like I only put the very minimum about what happened on those days. So I'm thinking I maybe need to supplement this. Like I'm loving this book as a snapshot of my year. I'm going to continue with this, but I'm thinking I may need a place to put some more writing, and so I'm going to come back to that. And I just thought I'd show you next week's pages, because I always show you the pages after they're already full. This is kind of what I start out with usually. I usually just, so again, this one started out as this page here, mushrooms. I'm not feeling mushroomy in the first week of April. So you can see that it had all these little blocks, so I just decided to paint them green because I never use green, and that took a little while. And then I covered up the mushrooms. I gessoed over them to fade them out, and then I put some green tissue paper on top of that, and then some green paint on top of that I just smeared on with a baby wipe. This was in the same movie magazine that I cut this Ready Player One picture out of. It was just like an ad for university or something, and I liked It's Your Path, own it. So I cut that out and I stuck it down. A little Dylusions sticker here, and then on this page I just do complementary colors. So after I baby wiped on the dark green here, there was still some paint on my wipe, so I just wiped it here. Easy peasy. And then I've got some green spots. And then I used some gray watercolor to complement the gray on this side. And then, because I was loving the gray, I just took a pencil and I sketched lines between my days. I sketched a border around the page, and I kind of smudged this in with a pencil too. And so that's what I start with, because I need to always make sure I leave some room for photos, and I don't get it, and oh yeah, and I stamped my dates. And I don't want it to be too full at this stage, and then I'll start filling it in this week, and by the end of the week, it's gonna look like that. But yeah, I'm toying with the idea. I've got a couple minutes here, so I'll just show it to you. I've got this muji binder, and I'm thinking I wanna do something with this. It's a little bit bigger. Let me just zoom out a little. And then it's got a million rings. It's got so many rings, and I've got this like paper filler paper. I've got page protectors for it, and I've got these amazing like chipboard dividers for it. So I'm thinking I'm gonna do something with this that's gonna be scrappy, like where this book is artsy, I think this one's gonna be scrappy. So I might play with that this afternoon. So next time I may show you something with this, or I may just stick with this one here. I don't know. I just feel like I need a little bit of change because I've got too much information to put on these pages. It was fine at first, but it's my days are getting busier, so I have to figure something out. So yeah, that's it for now, and I'll be back in a month with another flip through for you. Thank you so much for watching.